Good morning, Hope City. Steve Stewart here. Welcome to another daily devotional. We just went through Genesis 28 last week, and I'll go through a little bit of that stood out to me. So real quick, we see, Jacob sent out by his father Isaac to back to the homeland for two reasons. One, his brother wants to kill him. And two, we see that he's sent to go find a wife back in the homeland, not of Canaanite. And so we'll see as Jacob listens to his father, he's on his way, and along the way, he finds a spot to camp, and he grabs a rock, sets it down, and he takes a nap on it, right? So he's sleeping for the night, and God comes to him in a dream. And in verse 12 of chapter 28, he says he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And we go through here in the next several verses, God's standing at the top, and he reconfirms his covenant with Jacob. And that's so cool to me because we see God gave the covenant to Abraham. He reconfirms it with Isaac when he was out during the famine, and he was taking care of him in the land out there. And now here we have it again with third generation now, Jacob. He's reconfirming his covenant. He's holding true to his promise. So we see Jacob wakes up and he's scared, he's afraid, he's in awe and wonder of this personal encounter he just had with God. And what does he do? He immediately starts to worship. Look here in verse 18. It says, early in the morning, he took the stone that he had under his head and he set it up for a pillar and poured oil on it. He anointed it. And he renamed the place he was in Bethel, the house of God. So it says right here, he says, Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and he give me bread to eat and clothing to wear and all this stuff, he puts this pillar and anoints it and puts it as the pillar of God's house. He says, I will set up this pillar and it will be God's house. And then he finishes off here in 28 and says, and of all that you give me, I will give a full tenth to you. So first we see him, he's recognizing that everything he will receive is from God. Nothing's of himself. God's giving it to him, and he cheerfully says he's going to give a full tenth back. What does that sound like to you? It sounds like a tithe to me. And the cool thing I thought about when I was going through this is, where does the tithe come in, or at least the command to tithe? We won't see that for many, many chapters down the line where, we'll see this story play out. We have Joseph, Jacob's son, and he ends up in Egypt, and his whole family ends up coming down there. They go into slavery in Egypt after a while. And then God empowers Moses to rescue the people out of Egypt, the Exodus, and then they end up getting the law at Mount Sinai, right? I just went through that just to tell you, it's a long time from now until God gives his law to Moses. And that's the law where we see the command to tithe. So that's way down the line. So here we see a cheerful giver tithing long before it was ever a command. And Jacob realizes that God gave me everything I have, and I'm cheerfully giving back to you. Such a cool picture. I just want to say here, we see in this quick little chapter, Jacob previously wanted to be the head of his house, right? He took the birthright from Esau and all that deception that went on with that. Now God's his head. He previously wanted the power to run his house. Now he gives the pillar to build God's house. And then finally, he previously tried to steal his brother's fortune and his birthright, his possessions. Now he's willingly giving to God, right? So we see this radical change from this personal encounter he had with God. How cool is that? I just wanted to tell you today, if you've never given your life to the Lord and you're on the fence or you're learning about him for the first time, this is the kind of radical change you can expect to have when you give your life to the Lord. And not only will you have this radical change, but you're going to want to have this radical change in your life. And for those of you who do believe and you've been living your life drawing close to the Lord, I just want to challenge you this week. Like Jacob, did we previously want to be the head of our house and stand in our pride, or are we willingly submitting to God's authority and letting him use us as a vessel to be the spiritual head of the house? Or do we want to have the power to run our house, or are we using his power to build up his kingdom? Kingdom building, right? We can do that in a lot of ways. We can serve at church. We can go into ministry. We can share the word unafraid to the public, to strangers, to our friends and family and work, things like that. And look what Jacob did. He's willingly giving to God. He's cheerfully giving. It's not a command. Do we do that ourselves? I just want that to be a challenge this week. I was recently talking with someone here at church, and they brought up the fact that there's this phrase we use in the world today. It's called "put your money where your mouth is," right? And you could really look at that, and you could probably say, "Put your money where your heart is," right? Because in reality, what does that mean? We put our money into the things that we long for, the things that make us cheerful, like going to concerts and football games and buying a nice house, nice car, all these things. But Jacob here, willingly acknowledging God gave me everything I have, and I'm just giving him back a little piece of what he's already blessed me with. So I just want to challenge you this week. Look at this radical change in Jacob. We should emulate this when we've given our life to the Lord, and we want this radical change. So challenge for you. Type in the comments, challenge accepted if you're in. All right. Thank you, Hope City. Have a blessed week.